Welcome, this is Jupiter from Fifth Planet Keyforge, and I have my co-host here with me, Dominic from the A team. We are going to be bringing you this new episode of Burn the Stockpiles, and we hope you enjoy the upgrades and visuals and enjoy the product as we move along. And thank you so much for all your support and feedback. It's been wonderful. So here we go, kicking it off. But today we are basically coming at you with a new review. We took last week off. It was kind of busy for me, so it was my fault. Dominic was basically waiting all week for art, and I never got art to him. So today we're going to give you a twofer. We're going to go for part one and part two, and the artist that we're going to highlight has done both pieces. And her name is Cindy Avelino, and she is from Bauru, Brazil. So another Brazilian artist here, and she's done some pretty fantastic stuff. I was looking through her catalog, and she does a lot of really cool things online too. If you follow her, to where she basically creates characters, and she like has all these like overlays that lets you basically generate art for your like RPG experiences and stuff like that. So she's got a lot of art and a lot of cool stuff that she does to basically help promote her art and sell templates for people who are actually heavy into creating personalized characters for their campaigns and stuff. So Cindy Avelino is who we will be talking about when we talk about the card Molephin. So tell me something about Molephin, Dominic, and what you think is going on here.
Hey, yeah, no problem. So just breaking down the name itself. So just to let viewers know, because we took a little bit of a break, I said, you know what? I'm gonna be extra lazy, and I'm not gonna review the art into the last minute. So this is my fresh take, just to let you guys know out there. So I didn't rehearse or do anything behind the scenes for this one. But when I look at Mo, Finn, the first thing that comes to mind is that I actually broke the name down, and I said, "Hey, it's a Mo and it's a Fin." I know, very silly sounding, but the aspect here is that with it popping out of the ground, I was like, "Oh, I could picture that being like a key forge Mo, and it's mutated with being in an untamed aspect into this." Shark-like creature that's a part mole, part shark, and it's combined together. More shark than anything, but the mole is just more of it popping out of the ground, if that makes any sense. But the other aspect that really pops out to me that I thoroughly love is that there may be a famous book or a little story about a fisherman that's hunting a whale, and I won't ruin the surprise of who that may be. But I mean, Jupiter, do you have any idea who that could be?
Are we talking about a real like Moby Dick type thing and
I
Captain
think we're
Ahab?
talking about. Yeah, I think we are, and the reason why I get that feeling so much is that when you look at this beautiful piece of art, is that you see all these like spears. You got literally a piece of an anchor or a fish hook, like yeah, I think it's actually just a giant fish hook that's in its nose. So it's a very like punk, untamed shark creature, but not Baby Shark. Totally
Baby
different.
shark,
This is
do
Molephin.
do do
That's
do do.
completely different. But I love that he has this piercing going through his nose. It gives him that a little bit of a punk attitude. And then he has all these weapons and spears and things like he's been around for a long time, and he's still ready to get his piece of the food, if you know what I mean. Um, Other than that, getting right into it, some really interesting aspects here is that I love that the way Keyforge, the game works in general, just really playing with the imagination. So instead of him being in water, he's a sand shark. Again, correlating a little bit into the mole aspect that I was saying, and he's attacking this camel, looking for his next snack. I think that this piece has some great colors in it. I love that it's like in the middle of the day. He's about to chomp down. He almost reminds me as well like one of the sandworms from the old movie, soon to be re-released as a new movie series, Dune, which is like he has all those teeth from those sandworms that you would see, but he almost has like a volcanic or like a very deep. When you look into his mouth, you can see almost like there's like about to be fire that's coming out of it, and I love how his eyes glowing, and he's just he almost looks enraged and angry and ready to get some food because he's been disturbed somehow. So those are my like just very quick initial thoughts out there. There's a few things that I really do like, but all I won't hog all the spotlight here, and I'll pass it back over to Jupiter.
Yeah, after you've made like three different analogies, but yeah, cool. But all right, so here's the here's the pop culture reference that I got came up with since you came up with three of them on your own. But I do agree that all everything you said, I think it's all spot on and stuff like that. But here's a more current kind of crossover, not exactly, but kind of similar. But if you watch The Mandalorian, this past week they had an episode that had a crate dragon, and the crate dragon did all this burrowing and stuff. And when its teeth came out, that's kind of what inspired me to pick Molephin actually. And if you watch it, it was pretty good, and like the way that they did the crate dragon was awesome, and it had all these teeth, and it burrowed close to the ground. And it was just like, eating the Tusken Raiders, like whatever those things are, those big elephant hairy looking things that they ride. But
Mm.
they basically were eating those, and in this picture, he's like basically chasing down a camel. It looks like, and he's trying to eat the camel. So I picked it because I was kind of doing a Mandalorian fix last week and just like catching up my episodes, and I was like, I saw it and I was like, ah man, that reminds me of Molephin, and so that's why I picked Molephin, to be honest with you. And Molephin is exactly what you were talking about. I believe that it's basically she came up with this concept on the idea of like a fin and a mole. So she's thinking, something in the that is known for a fin. Oh, a shark, yeah, absolutely. And then the mole aspect of it being in the sand and being like, super, like it looks like it's blind. Its eyes are pretty much like look like they're burnt out from whatever amber or whatever it is that's inside of it. So like, um, I like the Moby Dick reference. The classics are always good, and there's always probably some kind of influence there. But you also see that this thing has been like it's in a place where there's a lot of wreckage. If you look around it, like there's a lot of like metal and like sharp metal, and it looks like it's been wiping out like some serious like ships and things like that as well. So whatever this thing is in the Crucible and whatever, it's huge for one because of like look at the camel versus the size of it, and then like that camel is like nothing but an hors d'oeuvre for for the Molephin. And you look at like all these other like cogs and stuff like that. These things like why like he's obviously living in some kind of weird like metallic pit, like a junkyard or something. I don't know. And
Mm.
like it's just like so much going on. And the thing I like the most about this piece of art is the color reference. Again, we talked about Untamed House being big on blues and or like not blues but oranges and like yellows and like hot colors. And this really encapsulates like a lot of the untamed feel. There's a ton of motion here. There's a power in the way that it's disrupting everything, and everything is being thrown and basically pushed away from its core, and like the energy is basically kind of recessed into the back where its body is basically busting the sand. You see the sand pushing everything, and then you see all this stuff to the foreground separated already, but like the motion coming forward, and it's like popping out, like almost like it's ready to jump out and bite you. I thought it was awesome. And then the color work and the uses of again the hot colors versus the dark colors, it helped just set a real definition on the way that this guy pops out. And it's obvious, like all the focus is basically on the Molphin's face, right? Like on the area where it's basically snarling. A lot of detail in the rows of teeth to go with the shark concept, and like just very powerful, very very fun piece of work here, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Like this one is it's just a fun piece of art. I always love Untamed piece of art, and I think Cindy did just a fantastic job for this one. I love that. One of the things I love about Keyforge, just getting straight into it, is that especially with myself going in blind for this, is that I've played Keyforge. Jupiter's played Keyforge 1,000 times. Like we've played this game a ton of times. I look at the cards, I go, "That's a great piece of art." But when I see these full pictures, these when we get to see the entire thing and capturing everything, I'll be honest. I've always seen Molephin. I didn't even realize there was a camel in the picture. I probably saw it, but I never really paid any attention. And as I'm looking at this picture and as I'm taking a closer look, and Jupiter will have to, when we put this up, he'll have to zoom in and show you that the camel itself, just a small little detail, makes me laugh a little bit. The camel itself, if you look, its eye is looking backwards, and he's like, oh crap, this is it for me. And like that little small little detail is perfect. Like obviously you can't capture that in the card because you're gonna lose some of the stuff, but having this full picture, like if someone loves this piece of art and they're gonna have it on their wall, just that little detail does it for me. But there's more to it than just that. The whole aspect of Keyforge, the big thing about the story, like I want to know, and this is getting more into the lore aspect. Like I kind of want to know why this spot is a junkyard. Like, what was it beforehand, and how did this creature get here? Did it always live here? Was it always this big? So, like a little hint nugget at the developers. Maybe it'd be cool to have like a miniature Molephin to see what he looked like as a baby shark to put
Baby
that
shark,
into
do
reference.
do
Though I
do
don't know
do
if we
do.
actually
Baby
need
shark,
any more
do
baby
do
shark,
do do
to
do.
be
Never
honest.
enough.
But yeah, the colors for this piece of art absolutely outstanding. It's just very glowing. It does meet Untamed a lot. I do have a little bit more questions about the stuff, but I'll hint at that when we start talking about how this piece of art compares to the card. Because one of my questions that pops out in my head is that we see this camel, but I wonder if is he just a wild camel because he doesn't have anything on him, or was he there with someone, and that someone is no longer? Like, I'm curious.
I don't know. Like I didn't see any camels throughout the different cards I was looking at, but another cool aspect that I didn't touch on before about the color aspect, and this is maybe something you didn't think about because you didn't mention it, but you notice that she used like aqua blue in the background, right? To kind of give it that shark,
Mm.
that water feel. So like you get this all this. You, obviously, it's in the sand and in the desert, but the sky is very aquatic colored, right? So that's kind of like a little like subconscious like art trick, I think, to make you feel more like it's a shark slash monster, like than just putting them in the desert and it being dry and not having that aqua behind it. So I think that's a neat trick that she did there in the layering of the color. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of curious to like what happened here because it looks like this thing has been wrecking ships for days, and or maybe there was a settlement here. Maybe those are actually bolts and pieces of metal from a Logos laboratory that this thing just decided to destroy. Like I don't know, but like there's a lot of things that have been impaled into this guy, so it's not like people don't know about it, and it's not like they haven't been trying to fight it, right? Like this thing is serious. Like you said, punk rocker has got that attitude moving towards it and stuff like that. But if you're ready, let's like move on and look at the alternate arts that she had conceptually painted up as well. What do you
100%.
what do you think about those, and which one do you think is would have been stronger or more proper?
Yeah, so great. So for the viewers, when we put this up, you'll see that there's three pieces of art. There's the A, B, and C. So the one that was chosen for the concept art was C, as you can see. And what's interesting is that in two of the three pictures, uh, the Molephin is trying to eat something, and so in C, it's the camel. In B, it's some sort of bird. In A, he's probably still trying to eat something, but I think it's something off of the piece of art, so you don't necessarily see it, or it wasn't developed yet. But I think it's supposed to be the idea that it's like an action shot. So for these ones, for the concept pieces that we've seen, I don't think this one has like less detail than previous concept pieces of art, but I find all three of them in this case do focus mostly on the creature itself, so the Molephin itself, which it absolutely should. But it's interesting that the details in the background are much less so than some of the other pieces that we've talked about in the past. Now, as far as which one I liked the best, to be honest, I'm going to have to go with a C, and that's only because I've fully visualized because I've seen the full concept of the piece of art, and I absolutely loved what she did with it. And not only that, like the camel looking back in the full piece of art, like that just made me laugh when I finally saw that. But when you look at the concept art, you can see that there's like the danger, like the spider senses. If you look around the camel's head, it has like the exclamation marks, like it's like, oh crap, I'm in danger. So I believe those were removed in the final piece of art, and instead you have the camel looking back. And so I just love that idea because it's in the desert. So having choosing a camel to represent the its snack or its prey, and also to give it so you can clearly tell it's not in the water, it's in the desert. It's a great concept. I think that works well. Um, on top of that, what I want to mention though is that the one thing that is correlated in all three images is that it was really important to Cindy to have the piercings for the Molephin and its teeth. So the two things that and its fin. So the three things I guess is that in each picture there's a piercing. Two of them are in the nose area, which I think I like a little bit better, and then one's in the fin area, which is also still kind of a cool idea. And then the teeth are very untamed like because they're wild, they're not straight, they're all jagged and crooked. And I don't believe sharks' teeth are necessarily straight. I'm not a Discovery Channel person, but I love that this one looks very much like an untamed mouth. Like it's a very wild, and it's a creature that has just let its teeth go crazy and out there. Um, yeah, so that's what I get for these three concept pitches. I think that they're all pretty interesting. Well, actually, I take that back. I like B and C. I think A is a good starting point, but B and C is very interesting. I like the idea of it potentially eating even something as small as a bird, but I like the idea that a camel is a little bit bigger, so you really get that grasp of just how big this creature is.
Yeah, I think that in version A, I think the problem with the this drawing and the reason I don't like it so much is because Harlan is playing drums with his feet right now. Sorry, but he basically the concept art here is neat, but like I think the body and the spikes that are coming out just make it look like it's a really long dragon, right? Like dragon type serpentine, and like you see like kind of on the bottom side there, she has like the belly aspect of a serpent. So like when you go Molephin, like there's nothing about like a serpent in that, right? And so I think that one kind of instantly kind of just makes me go, nah, I don't really like A as much because of that one detail, right? Even though it is definitely awesome, like it looks crazy, but for Molephin, not so much. But then when I look at B, I feel it's too aquatic because I know that the body would be wrapping back underneath it, and like the length of the Molephin would be there, but that the way that spike that or that extra piece of him comes off of him there, that extra fin or whatever, it makes it look almost like the tail of the shark, and it looks like it's actually still in water, right? Granted, she would have fixed that up with color and sand and whatever else, but I think this would have made the Molephin feel much smaller, and like again you said with the size reference with the bird, I think it just gets way smaller. But interesting note is that he in this picture, Molephin has the pierced nose, right? Like you said with the bone. In the next picture over, she doesn't have that same piercing, and but in the final version, she incorporated B's nose into C, which I thought was kind of cool. And then like again in C, I agree with you 100%. I think that she made the right choice, or they made the right choice with the camel because it shows the size. The way that it is laid out too in the background, you can see that the Molephin is pretty long, but we don't know how long it is. But we do know that it's
Mm,
powerful in the way that it's coming out because it's striking like a snake, right? Like basically it's striking like a snake, but it's like diving outwards, but it doesn't have that serpentine quality, but it has that length that kind of adds to its body because it's still kind of questionable where it is. Whereas I think in B it looks too short, in A it looks way too thick. Like it looks like it's like like it's weird. Like I don't get what's going on because of the bone structure that's there. I'm guessing if she added color, the bones would have nothing to do with the body, but that means that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg with the Molephin in A, right? Like we're not seeing a lot of the body there either to prove how long or how big it is, and there's nothing to reference it. So I think C is absolutely the right call as far as the structure goes and stuff. And I think that it's awesome that like she was able to take a little bit from the B and move it into C with the nose piercing because I think that was a good add. And just like I said, I think this piece is pretty brilliant as far as like the motion, the power, the colors, like and the simplicity of what this serpent-like mole fiend is doing. So let's take a gander at the card. The card is a 3 power creature with Hazardous 3, which is before this creature is attacked, deal 3 damage to the attacking enemy. After Amber is stolen from you, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature for each Amber stolen. So, how does that rate for you on our scale of 1 to 10 of how well the card relates to the art?
So this one again, it's a little bit of story time. So I'll give my story, and then I'll give the reason why the number at the end. So the hazardous 3, that is 100% accurate in my view, because when I look at this piece of art, and I look at what this means. So hazardous, before the creature is attacked, deal 3 to the attacking creature. That's perfect. That's an easy story to build up. And hazardous 3, for those wondering, is a little bit on the higher end. Normally it's hazardous 2. This is more for those that play the card game. And there is a few with hazardous 3, and those are usually the bigger creatures. But what I like about it is that because we're talking about it's in the middle of a junkyard, like it's in the sand area, and it's basically slumbering. It's basically it's waiting to attack its prey. So when if there was something that was like, hey, I think that's a creature, and they're just about to like attack it. No, I think the Mophin's already been prepared, and he is going to snap and attack you first. And because he has all these things attached to him. Part of the creature that's sorry, not part of the creature, but when the creature or the thing is attacking him, they may not have noticed that the Molephin is bigger than they originally thought, and so they fall into a trap. They're getting attacked by it. At the same time, as far as the amber getting stolen, I also think this is thematic because I think of any movie that you've seen with a dragon in it, and you're going to the dragon's lair, and you're just trying to pick up that holy grail. You're trying to pick up that piece of gold. In the case of Keyforge, it's the amber. Um, and so in this case, there's an adventurer, and I think it could be from any house. I think that they came on this camel to give a bit more of the story, even though we don't see any backpacks or anything like that. And they're an adventurer of some sort, and they were there for some amber, and potentially, I would even say maybe they saw the Mophin's eye. They're like, "Ooh, that looks like a red piece of amber," and when they went to go grab it and basically steal from the Mophin's lair, or steal any object from its lairs, so stealing this amber, um, everyone in the area is taking damage because now this junkyard becomes alive, and all the enemy forces is taking a little bit of damage. Overall, even with all that being said, I'm not going to give it a perfect 10. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because the only thing that is missing for me in this is that I don't. I feel like I pulled a little bit more to get that story because I do like it, but I didn't see. It's more of me putting it in the story, but I don't see the stealing because I don't see like any real treasures outside of the Molephin itself. Everything seems very much in the background because the focus is on the creature. But I don't. It doesn't have as much bling on it to make it look like someone would even try to steal from the Molephin. But I think it's super thematic. I still give it a 9 out of 10. I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I just ding it a point for that little thing.
All right,
How about you?
my turn. I don't agree with you about Hazardous 3. I do not think that Hazardous 3 is correct. I think Assault 3 would have been better because it's an aggressive creature. Like I said, I feel it more like it's more assertive than it is defensive. So with that said, I do not totally disagree with hazardous. I just think it's really high for what it is because like the idea is like when it's moving and attacking, it's disrupting the sand and the environment around it. So therefore, there is like probably collateral damage in its movement, right? And like obviously, there's a bunch of crap on it too. So there's a chance that if he runs by, he clips you with one of these spears or he clips you with the hook on his nose, he just knocks you with that or whatever. But I don't know. Like Hazardous 3 seems a bit of a reach, so I would ding it for that. After Amber is stolen from you and deal one to each enemy creature that is stolen. Now, this is where I disagree with you as well because I do think there's plenty of treasure for this Molephin around it. It obviously likes metal, and there's tons of metal. So scrap, I guess, treasure is in the eye of the person that's looking for it, right? But there's plenty of scavengers in Star Wars, right? Like if you go to Tatooine, they scavenge metal because metal is important and it's very rare. So in the untamed world where everything is basically like sticks and leaves and woods and stuff like that, in the desert, there's no reason that if they saw metal, they wouldn't try to harvest the metal to make weapons or whatever else they're gonna make with it. But this guy is like, yo, this junkyard is mine. Like this is my metal, don't mess with it. And again, I do believe that it being a shark type basis, sharks are actually very energy efficient creatures. I learned this when I went to South Africa and swam with them. But I got to go swimming in the Great White Isle there between Seal Island and the penguin place. So like it was in Cape Town, South Africa. So I got to see like great whites like up close and personal, and we got to learn a whole lot about them, and it was awesome. And the thing with great whites is they said that they don't really move at any kind of an accelerated rate unless they're gonna attack something to eat because they know that they like food for them is like far like the amount of food they need to basically sustain their movement and their energy is not proportional to like the size that they are, right? So basically they take their time to hunt and they stealth and they usually like they'll circle like slowly and then they'll go way deep, like super deep, and then when they come to attack, they'll shoot straight up, and they can get up to 6 feet in the air out of the water to basically eat things. Like so they can jump up and grab birds. They've done that. I saw them cauterize a seal where they came up and they jumped up and they got most of their body out of the water, flipped back down with the seal in their mouth, and like where it was gone. Like so, it was absolutely crazy, and I get all of that from this Molephin, and I think that like this junkyard is pretty much its home, and like I think it is probably treating all these scrap bolts and pieces of metal and stuff like that as its treasure, right? Because it's not really a dragon, but like there's a reason why it's around all this metal, and it doesn't seem to dislike it, and I could also see his eye being a trap too, like a kind of like a burrow hunter like in the aquatic world they have a lot of fish like the angler fish that they have down there that has like
Mm.
the light bulb on its head, and they basically dangle the light in the darkness because the fish are attracted to it, and then as soon as you go near the light they just eat you, right? So like maybe his eye it does maybe he does maybe it like burrows in, to the point where you can't see most of it, like fin down kind of thing, and all you see is like the anchor buried in the sand, and then all of a sudden there's this big red ruby looking light, like coming up like shiny, like looking like a gem or whatever. So of course you're gonna, if you're an adventurer or something, you're gonna be curious and want to go look at it. But little do you know that this guy is waiting and he's an ambush hunter. So and that fits the shark motif, right? That I just talked about. So, all in all, I think I would say that this card matches up with its written text, maybe like a 6. Like I'm not gonna give it a very high one because I think it's kind of backwards, and I'm really stretching with the junkyard is its gold kind of thing. So I don't feel this one as much as I would feel some of the other ones that we've done. So that's where I'm gonna sit with that one. But the card is pretty fantastic, and I do love the artwork.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'll plug in. So Jupiter gave it a 6. I gave it a 9, and we gave what we thought about it. If you want to interact with us, let us know in the comments what you would give it. How thematic is the card versus the art, and like pros and cons. If you think there's any flaws, or if you agree with either of what we've said.
Yep. And that's about all we got for Molephin. So halfway through the episode, doing pretty good time. We're going to shift gears to another piece of art from Cindy Avelino. And this one is The Instrument of Silence. And this piece is absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion. It shows like basically an untamed woman playing a crazy looking instrument, right? Like has lots and lots of stuff going on, and then there's this magic pouring out of it to me. That's what it reminds me of. And it really like when I saw this, I couldn't help but link myself to the Ocarina of Time game that I played on
Mm.
the 64 for like a long time, and I loved it to death. And I just got the Ocarina kind of feeling here, and that was like my link to this piece instantly. So I'll let you speak on it, and then I could come back a little bit more about the art. But I'll let you do what you feel about this since you didn't really get time to think about it.
Yeah, 100%. So it's a beautiful piece of art for sure. Um, I'll get to back to one item that you said here in a bit, but I love that it's hard to say if it's what time of day this is, if it's nighttime or not. I know people are like, "What do you mean? It's clearly nighttime." I feel like that the music is just when she's playing this beautiful music, it's almost like speaking about the Zelda. It's almost making it into nighttime. This instrument of silence, like it's everyone's become silent because they're just hearing this beautiful music, and you're seeing these stars and this. All this great stuff coming out of this instrument, and what's really super cool about this instrument is it feels very much like a key forge instrument, and it feels very much like an untamed instrument. And the reason why I say that is it has a whimsical feel for like the key forge aspect, and it's very alien compared to anything that we're used to seeing. Um, yeah, because it looks like it's like almost like multiple instruments in like what looks almost to me like a some sort of like seashell or some sort of like oceanic thing that is holding all these other items together, and it's playing this beautiful music. Regardless, again, I like the idea that the instrument of silence. I don't think the instrument itself is making any type of silence. I think it's actually playing music, and I think it's like great, and it's almost hypnotic. It's making you go silent, like I said. And I love the flow here of how everything is going. It's as she's playing it, she's really getting into it. She has her eyes closed. She's played this instrument a ton of times, and she's playing whatever song that she knows and loves, and it's coming from the heart. It feels like, and I also like that the focus, even though it's not the biggest thing, where the character here, the female character here, is uh, taking up a big portion of the piece of art. The focus is on the instrument because it has that bright color, and I think it comes alive as you're playing it. And when I say alive, I mean that I think it doesn't resonate. I don't think it glows until you start playing it. And the neon colors basically coming out from it is super cool. And I get the sense that as she's blowing into it, you're seeing, as I said, the stars and all that coming out of it. You're basically seeing the music live, and that's an interesting aspect. Um, Another interesting aspect for this is that I don't necessarily think that this is a untamed creature that we're seeing. I think it's an untamed item. I think it's an untamed like artifact of sorts, but it's an upgrade for the card itself. But I think this is basically could be in any civilization. I wouldn't put her towards Untamed. I actually think she doesn't match the Untamed aspect. I think she's a citizen somewhere. I can't picture it, but she's a very interesting character herself, and I'll get a little bit more into depths about some of the things that pop out for her that I never noticed on the card because again my focus was on the instrument. But I'll let Jupiter give a little bit of his thoughts as I think about it here.
Yeah, I think that she's definitely untamed. I think she's just from a tribal aspect. As you see,
Mm,
like she has like some of what it would be like ritualistic, like tribal markings from like African culture. Like they used to paint their face and tattoo their faces like that, and like they have like the spots, and all that. That's like something I saw when I was in Africa. So like I think that there's a really cool tie in there with that. And then I like the jewelry and stuff again because again it has this like an African kind of tie into it in my opinion that I'm actually pretty like interested in like the beads like on the wrists and stuff like that. The awkward like the not awkward but like the weird way that the flute basically is wrapped around and like flipping out and stuff like that and turned like it basically shows me that like there is like something alive, like you said. It's almost organic looking, right? Like it looks like it's taking its own and it's basically spreading music in all different directions. The flow of the music coming out is alive and like it shows that it's wrapping back into her. So it's like, it's almost like a chi effect where it's like it's shooting out, it wraps around, it comes back around, and then it hooks back into like where the where it initially started in the back because it's basically almost like it's pouring like her soul is pouring out and recycling almost like rejuvenating, right? Like maybe it's like a weird way for them to you know resonate and basically replenish their magic even like I don't know, it's maybe a little bit stretchy there but the dreadlocks obviously are very African in nature as well, which I'm a fan of. And you know I don't know, like there's just a lot going on in this picture that's just beautiful to me, right? Like it's absolutely majestic in some aspects, and like I can almost hear the music myself. Like I can picture what the music sounds like because of the motion and because of the way that it's like playing out and the different like levels of it. It's almost like I don't know. There's like something about this picture that's just really comforting to me. Like it's the kind of thing I would want in my lounge over a fireplace.
yeah, 100%. I think it's very much a comfortable thing. I think that it's the aspect. I think the colors helped to be a little bit more mellow, and like with her eyes closed, she's showing that passion. Like I said, I can see where you're saying that you see it as a that she is part of the Untamed House. I think there's some pros for that. With yeah, so you get a little bit of the markings on her face, which I think in the concept arts, when we cover that here in a bit, we'll see a little bit more. And I think there's a few ones that make that a little bit more prominent for sure. I also really like in something, again, you don't see this when you look at the art on the card versus this full art. But you can see in her earring here, you can see like when you look closely, and it's hard to see it fully, is that there's so much detail in this piece of art that even her earrings, if you look closely, you can see that there's something there. I won't try to guess exactly what is there myself because I see an image, but I can be completely out to lunch. I almost see like it almost looks like it's uh, almost looks like it's a camp, like it almost looks like a tent. But it's hard to say. There's a few things in the image. It might just be abstract in itself, but the fact that there's details in her earrings, there's the small little details. Her necklace has a little thing that's hanging from it, and one of her dreadlocks that's hanging a little bit lower. She has that tooth that's there. I love the fact that her hair's flickered, like just the right way that when she's playing the music, like it almost looks like she has some movement as she's playing this, right? So even though there's no movement in the picture, just that little bit of the hair flick where it's up because
Hmm.
uh, her hair would obviously be down otherwise. Like it's showing that she's really getting into it, going back and forth. I love the glow from the not just the instrument, but the blue effect of the instrument is coming and it's shining on her, and it's just yeah, there's lots of interesting stuff. Love the choice of colors. Love that the instrument is the prominent thing here, and it's I think it's a piece of art that shines more when you look at it there versus the card. Because when I play the card, unfortunately, and this is the thing for the card game is that when you play the card, we usually hide this beautiful piece of art because since it's an upgrade, we're only seeing the top part because it's going underneath of a creature. So that's why I'm less familiar, I think, with looking at the art in detail versus creatures and artifacts are usually always on the board. This can be on the board, but you're covering up that very nice piece of art.
Yeah, I think that you bring out a lot of really strong points too, and this thing is just like straight jazz to me, man. Like I can just feel it, right?
Yeah,
And the cool thing too, like you were talking about her earring, but the even cooler detail in it is that she has a gauge, like she has like one of those gauges in, and it's like actually a bigger hole in her ear, and it's actually wrapped through the gauge. Her earring is. Did you see that? Like that's kind of neat. Like I love the negative space use to kind of tie it in more and just kind of give you that extra like tribal feel to it.
yep,
So that's pretty sick. And then like you said, you mentioned the blue glow. Something I was gonna say too is just like it's almost like her soul is becoming enlightened by the music, right? Like and that's like it's like the instrument is basically tapping into making her glow, like her soul glow inside of her as she plays. I mean, she's definitely like bobbing out to this, like so like yeah, super strong and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and take the viewers to towards the concept art now and see where that will lead us. So here,
yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Oh no, no. I was just gonna say. I think what we got here is very interesting. So we got the three caricatures. So which ones she was gonna pick, and so we have one, two, three, and then we have the instruments that she's saying that here's a real life instrument, or here's various ones, and because in this case, I believe is an example that the artist knew that the card that she was doing art for was called the Instrument of Silence. Um, Sometimes, for those viewers out there, they ask the artist just to make a piece of art to put it in the house, and then they'll make a card around it. In this case, I believe that they had an idea, so they said, "Hey, we want to make an upgrade card. It's going to be called the Instrument of Silence, or whatever the name was at the time. It might have changed." So they went to the artist and said, "Hey, can you make this?" And she's like, "Okay, here's what I think the Untamed person will look like, and here's what I think the instruments will look like." And so to flip it a little bit, I'll let Jupiter start first on which one he thinks about this. But I just wanted to throw out there that I really liked how she broke this down for that. Though I think the instruments, again, it's the real life instruments versus what she did. It's a little bit of a drastic change.
Yeah, I think what happened here was like she was showing off that she could make these instruments, and it's kind of like when you do figure drawing, right? You have to be able to draw a skeleton, and you have to be able to draw muscle tissues in order to be a really good figure drawer, right? And I think what it is here, she was just demonstrating different styles of things, because one is it looks like an alto flute, the other one looks like a baritone sax, like I don't know, like I think she was just showing them concepts of what could happen with it, right? And then somebody probably said, "Well, we really want this to be a little bit more crazy, a little bit more wild." And she's like, "Well, what if I put all of them together and basically just made like this like sax-looking thing with just multiple outlets, right? And like just basically make it crazy." And they're probably like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. That's exactly what we want." And like we said earlier, like I believe the instrument of silence is really like they play the instrument and it just shuts you up because you're in awe or magically put into a stupor, right? So all around, like this is an interesting concept art because unlike all the other ones where A, B, and C, one of them was the one they chose. This is definitely like an amalgamation of like just this is like these are what the characters look like, and this is what the tribe of these people look like, and these are their instruments. And then they said, well, doll this up, doll that up, like let's fix this up, and you've proven to us that you have the core design of what you want, but we would like you to take some of these aspects, like and add them to, like, we want the long hair from 3, but we want the face from 2, and we want like we want like kind of like the drapery and style. I guess the clothing is pretty much 2 as well, from what I can see. But it's like it's kind of like they kind of put some of the best of the best together, right? You see the full eyebrows, not too many like separations in them, but on the one that they made for number 2, there is separation. Number 1 has that thicker eyebrow. That is more common to what I see here. Other than that, it's not so curved down and defiant. It's more up and like pleasant, like because again she's enjoying herself, right? So lots of cool things here, like you said, and I think 2 is definitely the strongest concept, and but I think there's still bits and pieces of the other 2 that kind of made their way into the artwork too when she actually went to town with it. So um, just brilliant brushstroke, brilliant movement, great use of color. This is one of my favorite pieces I think that we've done as far as like artistic value goes, because I do like things that are more abstract, I guess, and more impressionistic. And I think this is more along those lines. This is kind of why when we did the Lowdown original that none of you guys have heard yet, Lowdown was one of my favorite pieces, right? Like because I did enjoy it because it was very impressionistic. And this is similar to that, but this is based more like on a Pollocky kind of movement, where it's like she has all this color that she's just panning out and pulling out, and instead of leaving it raw like Pollock would, she's brushed it in and made it gentle and made it welcoming and warming. And I just like this is one of my favorite pieces I think that we've done so far.
Yeah, 100%. So the if to dig deeper into the concept art, I think that for the A, B, and C, uh, mostly there to show, as we've said, both just to show like here's the real life instruments. I think that the final instrument itself is an amalgamation of various instruments put together and then twisted and then put into almost mutated, to use that as a coined word, into the key forge setting to make a unique instrument. As far as the character that she picked, I disagree slightly with Jupiter, only in so that I think that it's the fully from B. I don't think A or sorry, fully from 2, number 2 here. I don't think 1 or 3 was used at all in this case. I think that she does have long hair in 2. It's just that we're just seeing a very much a concept. Like I picture that the hair is long, though the feathers that you see in the just barely draw in the background for 2 is not in the final piece, but they're just kind of put in there. I don't know if that was just to show a little bit of abstract or not.
So
But
let me
oh, go ahead.
let me point out the most obvious like overlap is the necklace on 3 is definitely probably the necklace style that is being used on B on 2, because 2 is definitely a plated kind of necklace, and she's definitely wearing more of a chain based necklace.
I'll take that. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
I'll still accept that for sure. Um, but it's interesting that, of course, the facial the faces are completely different in each case. All 3 of them look like they would be from the same tribe. Now, what's interesting is that I said that I didn't get as much of an Untamed feel because I think that they're at the end picture, for me at least, what I expect from Untamed, and this is just my own biased view, she doesn't meet all the standards that I need. To be untamed. She's completely human, which doesn't mean that she can't be untamed at all. But she doesn't have that wild aspect to her, and she doesn't have as much of a tribal aspect. Like she looks like she can be part of any civilization for me. For number 2. Now that being said, the concept art looks a little bit more like I because again the focus is more on the character itself. Looks a little bit more tribal. But initially, when I was talking about this, I did not focus on like the facial paint or the tattoos on her face, if which I believe they're tattoos and not facial paint. But the one that really stands out, the one that I would have chosen to showcase this being an untamed female, would have been number one, actually. Number one,
Hmm.
and it's not so much, it's a little bit about the face because of the paint or the scars or the tattoos. Makes it a little bit more untamed for me, but it's actually a little bit more of the clothing, where it looks very much untamed. Like this is what I would expect. Is a little bit more wild and looks a little bit more of a tribe that would wear if they were a part of the untamed house. Number three as well also is a little bit more out there, but
I
I
think
think all three.
I think number
Yeah,
I think
for
number three looks almost Egyptian, right? Like kind of
I,
gives me that Egyptian feel. But I agree with you on the wild number one being the most untamed like, especially with like the extra earrings and stuff. Almost curves the ear to look at, almost like an elf even. Even though I'm pretty sure that it's earrings that were sketched in there, not braids, but like it almost looks elven. I think the ear kind of helps push you to that wild side, plus the clothing, right? But
yeah, 100%.
but then like the drapey clothing in number three again is replaced like on the actual drawing. I think the drapey style clothing and stuff like that is being used, whereas number two in the sketch drawing again has that plate effect, like kind of like a plate mail looking to me, like on the chest piece there. So like I don't know, it's just like I don't know. Like I still believe. And another interesting thing too is the tattoos on her head for number two are actually like opposite of the way they were drawn. Like I don't know what the reasoning was there, but maybe it was just to draw like the attention in from the roundabout of her head. But they basically inversed them. So
Yeah, I think that was just taking an artistic take, and also just the point. I think it's because of the point of view. Now, even though I'm like nitpicking at her being untamed or not, I think that that's still just a small item.
hmm
But in the concept pictures, I think all three of them looks more untamed to me. But that's because my focus point is on the character itself versus the instrument where my focus was, which is great because you want your focus to be on the instrument, and I think that's why I differ a little bit in the overall picture versus the concept. I think that all three of them can fit, with number one being the biggest, then three, then two. But yeah, that's another one in the comments. Let us know which one you think is the biggest. I think Jupiter, you're saying that number one is uh, the biggest, but you're saying number three is the weakest.
yeah, absolutely. I think number three is more Egyptian to me.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's all I have. I think this is a good time to, speaking about the instrument, probably move on to uh, talking about compared to the card, unless you have anything you want to point else.
Nope, I've already brought the card up. It's basically an upgrade, and it says this creature gains skirmish and fight gain 1 amber. It also has flavor text on it, and the flavor text reads, "Its song is like the call of 10,000 voices, maybe more." So, I guess I'll go first on this one since I made you go first on the last one. For me, the creature gains skirmish and uh, fight gain 1 amber. So basically, skirmish in the game lets you attack and not take damage back. So if this melody was basically making people go like into a coma type situation, it makes sense that like you could hit them and they wouldn't hit you back, right? So I guess that works for me. And then fight gain 1 amber. The idea here is that like if you're using this instrument of silence to basically take it to your opponent, the music again, like we said, has this like weird like a reoccurring energy that comes back around to her and stuff, and is filling her up. So if amber is a magical element, maybe the music drains that drains your opponent's soul as well, and that's why they could become comatose. So all in all, like I might be stretching a bit on that, but I would say this one kind of hits me around like a 8 or so out of 10.
Hey, that's fair. So for me here, the instrument of silence. So we've talked about that. I think Jupiter and myself both agree that the art is so beautiful here that that we're in awe like when we look at it. And so like as far as the name goes, like it gets full points for the name, the instrument of silence. I think that you can take it whatever way you want, and I think that flavor text isn't even required in this case, but because it has that, it's showing you that its song is like the call of 10,000 voices, maybe more. Like you're in such awe that like so many voices are coming out when it's played that you can't, you shut up and you have to listen to this, like you have to, so you go silent. So that part is perfect, and I think that correlates with the skirmish because you're in so much in awe, you're almost frozen in time listening to this. Your enemy that is playing this is going to have the advantage, and you're not going to do anything back because of that. As far as the enemy gaining in amber, this is where I think it doesn't tie in. I think this was just they wanted to make the card useful, and so you have to have something for the card to be an upgrade. So you need something. It can't just be against skirmish. That's only okay, to be honest. So gaining skirmish and gaining amber is pretty good. But I disagree that the gaining in amber thematically fits into the piece of art at all. So for me, I give it a 7 out of 10 because of the fight gain one amber. That part I just it doesn't correlate to me in any shape. Everything else though beautifully fits in. If it didn't have the fight gain one amber, this might be an 8 or a 9 for me.
So amazing art. That's all I got for this. Like it's just basically awesome. Card is somewhat playable. Like upgrades are weird, but I like I'm sad in a way too because on the card art like they cut off a lot of the movement of the swirl effect that goes around it. So
Mm.
that's kind of sad. And like you don't get the full effect, but being able to go in and look at the actual whole piece again is made all the difference. Kind of like with Burn the Stockpiles when we did that one. Lots of stuff that you kind of lose in the card crop, right? So this piece is just fantastic. The color work is awesome. Even the galaxy, it's almost like she's playing like a galaxy into existence,
Hey,
like a Mother
yeah.
Gaia, like Mother Gaia type thing, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna create like a universe. Like I don't know, like it's just mesmerizing. It's a great piece. I love the colors. I love the brightness and the darkness and like the soulful glow. Like I said, this is jazz. This is jazz in painting to me. So I really dig it.
Yeah, I 100% 100% dig this and so this has been this piece of art. So if well, I'll probably reach out for the viewers out there. I often after we do these videos, I'll reach out to the artist, let them know that we did an initial piece of the art. We've had a lot of success with that. So Sydney, if you watch this videos, let us know what you think. And if you'd like to come on and talk some of about some of your other art that you've done for Keyforge, we would love to have you on, and we'd love to have any artists on, or anyone that's interested in coming on with us to talk art, because we've been really enjoying it. This has been a great little piece, as you can see. Because yeah, especially I think for this one, you just don't look at the upgrade art. At least I didn't as much because you've slapped that onto a creature. So just another great piece of art in a great house.
Yeah, so thank you, Cindy Avelino, for sharing your art with us. This is a fantastic piece, both this and Molephin. Just so much energy, so much passion in your work, and I think that we're we're in a better place for having looked deeper into this picture and all the details and all the greatness that you put into your work. So we are appreciative of it, and that's all we got for this week. As this is Burn the Stockpiles, and I'm Jupiter from Manlius, New York, and my cohort.
Hey, Dominic from Canada. Catch you guys later.
So we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to check out Cindy Avelino's work at cindyworks.com.